Welcome to Football with Cheese. So in this video, we're going to continue our draft recaps with the NFC West. We have some good drafts and we have some very questionable drafts as well, especially the Rams. Before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell for notification so you never miss one of my videos. Look out for my AFC East recap tomorrow, and then probably the NFC East on Monday, and then Tuesday, I'll release a final thoughts about the entire draft video. We'll do winners and losers. We'll talk about how some of these draft picks will affect veteran players, and maybe go over some little known facts about some of these draft picks. So make sure you are subscribed and hit the bell and all of that. All right, so NFC West. Who should we start with? Let's do Arizona. Go with the Arizona Cardinals. So about a week before the draft, everyone expected them to go defense with the third pick. Then we started to hear the rumor that the owner was pushing for Jeremiah Love. Whether that's why they took him or not, we'll never know. But if the owner wants something, that usually happens. So running back was not really a need. They have James Conner. They signed Tyler Algier in free agency. They have Trey Benson. So while Love will upgrade the position because he's really good, it was definitely not one of their biggest needs. I thought they needed a defensive playmaker. I'm sure Mike on the Lights Out podcast every Tuesday night, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, my co-host, I think he will agree. He lives in Arizona. He's a Cardinals fan. But he's a really good player. He's one of the best running back prospects, probably the third best in my opinion in the last 10 years. He can do everything. He's fast. He's quick. He's got good contact balance. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run routes. If I'm being a little nitpicky, he needs to get a little better in pass pro. And sometimes in the open field, he makes the wrong decision. He should cut inside when he should cut outside. But once again, just being nitpicky, he is an amazing running back, and he should be one of the best 5 running backs in the league from the get-go. In the second round, this pick made a ton of sense. So the reason why you don't take Love is, do you have the offensive line that can block for him? So Arizona's like, let's get a guard. They have a good left tackle. They signed Isaac Seumalo, I hope I said that name right. In free agency, play left guard. They have a solid center in Froholt. But right guard and right tackle was an issue. So they drafted Chase Pasantis to play right guard. He's already a good run blocker. Needs some work in pass protection, but here's what I noticed on tape. When he got beat, he's so athletic and he moves so well that he was able to recover a lot of the times. And he's one of the best guards in the draft at getting the second level quickly. Like I said, really athletic, really great feet. So he played left guard in college. We'll move over to right guard, but I don't think it'll be an issue for him. And he fits his own scheme or a gap scheme. I really like this pick. I think 4 of the next 5 teams really wanted Pasantis. And there was a rumor he would actually sneak into the first round. So this fits a need and it's good value. Good pick, Arizona. However, the next pick, Carson Beck, quarterback, Miami. He's got talent. He's got size. He's got a pretty good arm. But I don't like this pick at all. I think they wasted it. Immaturity issues at Georgia. He was benched for Gunnar Stockton, who's not very good. And I don't think they even wanted him back. When he got all that NIL money to go to Miami, I think Georgia's like, see you later. Supposedly, the immaturity issues didn't show up as much at Miami, but this guy is terrible in the fourth quarter when it matters the most. He will just all of a sudden start throwing it to the other team. Those kind of quarterbacks in college do not make it in the NFL. Kind of reminds me of Josh Rosen. I know Arizona Cardinal fans don't want to hear that name, but kind of reminds me of him. Nowadays, those kind of quarterbacks don't go in the first round like Rosen did. They fall to the third round. Like Drew Aller and Carson Beck went in the third round. Teams have gotten a little smarter. But still, I don't like the pick. I think they wasted it. Maybe he can fix his issues. Who knows? Because he's got the talent. But I'll say this to Cardinals fans. I prefer taking Carson Beck at 65 than Ty Simpson at 13. Even though I like Ty Simpson better than Carson Beck, you did not waste a first-round pick. You wasted a third-round pick probably, because most day 2 quarterbacks do not work out. But I get the third-round flyer. At least they didn't use a first-round pick on him. Like Tom Pelissero was reporting right before the draft that he could go in the first round. And I think that was just the agent called and, hey, say that. Maybe someone will be stupid and trade up for him. Obviously it didn't happen. Teams aren't that stupid. But the only real pick I did not like for Arizona, I love their 4th round pick, Caleb Proctor, defensive tackle, Southeastern Louisiana. I thought he would go in the third round for sure. He is a small school player. Maybe that's why he fell the fourth round. But he was tremendous against LSU. That's the thing. When you're a small school prospect, there's two things I look for. Do you dominate your competition? He did. And do you play well against your best opponent, against a Power 4 conference? And he did. So I love this pick. I love the value. Number 104 overall. He had a tremendous workout, 4.7940 for 290 pounds. He is undersized, probably only plays on passing downs only, but Monty Ossenfort loves his athletic interior lineman. He'll fit great there in Arizona. Round 5, Reggie Virgil, wide receiver, Texas Tech. This is about where I thought he'd go. He's a tall and long receiver, had a good Senior Bowl. He's one of those guys that's a deep threat, but doesn't really run fast, or at least he didn't. He was like a 4.5 guy, but he's a long strider, and he tracks the ball really well. Just has to clean up the drops, but solid value here in the 5th round. In the 6th round, went Carson Shar, linebacker, Iowa. He is a pretty good athlete. More than likely, he never starts. He's just a core special teamer. And then the 7th round went Jaden Williams, tackle, Ole Miss. Probably a swing tackle if he even makes the team, but he did play left tackle and right tackle in college. All right, who should we do next? Sorry, I forgot to scroll down. I was just looking at my notes. Okay, who should we do next? Let's go with the Rams. Let's go and get them over with. Did not like their draft at all. We started with Ty Simpson. If you watch my video I made the day after the first round of the draft, I went pick by pick, did my analysis. I was not happy with this pick. The Rams are one of the best teams in the NFL. They were 4 points away from the Super Bowl last year. They needed a right tackle. They need another offensive weapon. And they took Ty Simpson, quarterback, Alabama, who will not play for at least 2 years and may never be good. He doesn't handle pressure well, only 1 year of experience. His ball placement is inconsistent. He doesn't have any great trait. If he had this monster cannon arm, or he had Lamar Jackson's athleticism, I get this, okay? But he doesn't have any great trait. He's got a good enough arm. He's a good enough athlete. Nothing that makes you think he should be a first-round pick, especially with his production on the field. Now, if you believe the rumor that GM Les Snead told his dad, and maybe Simpson himself, that we're going to take you back in December or January, we're going to take you with our first-round pick, that's not how you draft. You do not decide who you're drafting in December and January. You decide in April. You decide a week or two before the draft, when you've gone through the whole offseason process. So if that's the reason he didn't stay in school, because he had 1 year left of eligibility, and the rumor is that Miami offered him a lot of money, if that's the reason he came out, then they're stuck drafting him, or they're liars, or it looks really bad. And I guess the Rams didn't know that Kenyon Sadiq might be on the board, because that's who I would have taken. Can you imagine Kenyon Sadiq with Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams? Can you imagine that offense? I am shocked that they didn't take Kenyon Sadiq. But if they promised Simpson they'd take him, I guess they did. I just don't like this pick. Maybe 5, 6, 7 years down the line, it's a good pick if Simpson works out. But for next year, they're not better. And I really thought going into the draft they had the best roster in the NFL, and I'm not so sure now, because they needed to get more help in this draft, and they just didn't. With their next pick, they went Max Clare, tight end, Ohio State, 61st overall. Surprised to go tight end in round 2 again. Don't they have enough tight ends? They got 4 guys that could start for most teams. They went Terrence Ferguson in the second round last year. I like Clare. I would have liked him a round later. I thought he was more of a mid to late third round pick. He's good at a lot of things, not great at anything. I guess they're going to play a lot of 13 personnel. They played a lot last year, maybe even more. So they just love their tight ends, I guess. Another guy I thought would go around later. In the third round, they took Keegan Trost, tackle, Missouri. Probably going to move into guard. Maybe they'll try him at right tackle. Like I said, right tackle is a big need for them. But he's got very short arms. And another player, they could have Blake Miller in the first round. They could have traded down a few spots because he went 17th to the Lions. And Blake Miller would have fit this scheme. I'm just not loving this draft at all. I will say this about Trost. He did have a good year for Missouri in the SEC. Guys that are productive in the SEC, that does typically translate to the NFL. He's probably a better pass protector than run blocker at this point, and he's got to get stronger. That's one thing I noticed. He can be bull rushed. So maybe he develops into a starting guard. think they may try him at tackle, but more than likely he has to move inside. Then they didn't pick again till the 6th round. They took C.J. Daniels, wide receiver, Miami. I actually like their last 2 picks. He's very smart. You can tell he's got a high football IQ, very good at finding holes in the zone. He's good at contested catches. There were some plays where it broke down in Miami, and he really saved Carson Beck, just getting open, coming back to the ball. That's the kind of receiver he is. He probably doesn't have the upside of a starting receiver, but somehow the Rams, who are good at developing receivers, somehow they'll make him like a really good number 3, but probably plays a lot of special teams units. And then Tim Keenan was their 7th round pick, nose tackle, Alabama. He is a run-stopping only, goal line or tush-push play type of player, meaning he's going to play on 4th and 1 at the goal line, and if they're playing the Eagles doing the tush-push, they'll bring him in for those plays only. But that's valuable in the NFL, so he'll probably make the team. And I like the idea, when they do play the Eagles, of putting Keenan next to Poona Ford. Makes it much tougher for Jalen Hurts to win that tush-push. So overall, I don't think it's a very good draft. I think some other teams they're competing with in the NFC got better in the draft than they did. But I do like their last 2 picks. So let's go with, who are we doing next? Let's do the 49ers next. They had an interesting draft. I don't think it's quite as bad as the media has made it out to be. They traded back in the 1st round, and they took Dejon Stribling, wide receiver, Ole Miss. They're getting a lot of flack for this pick. I'll say this. He is a very good fit for what they want to do. My problem with it is they could have traded down. You cannot tell me that someone did not want to trade up for Chase Besantis. So many teams picking in the first 10 picks of the 2nd round needed guard help. And Besantis went the next pick to Arizona. So they had to have teams calling about that pick. They absolutely should have moved down. Another surprising thing is they didn't take Denzel Boston. I know they signed Mike Evans in free agency, similar receiver to Denzel Boston, but he's just a much better prospect than Stribling. And I like Stribling. I think I had him late 2nd round in my 2nd round mock, but that's where I have him. I think he should have gone in the 50s or 60s, not 33. Now, he did run a 4.36. He's got good size. He's terrific after the catch. He's hard to bring down. He's probably the best blocking receiver in this draft, and we know the 49ers value that. But to me, he's not a great separator. I just feel like they could have gotten him at least 15, 20 picks later. In the 3rd round, I really like this pick. They took Romello Height, edge rusher from Texas Tech. He is small. He's under 240 pounds. He's a designated pass rusher only, but he had tremendous film this year. I feel like he should have been closer to the range where Cassius Howell and R. Mason Thomas, I think they went 40th and 41, but I think he's older than them. So that's probably why he fell to the 3rd round, but he is an elite first step. He destroyed some of the best tackles in college football, including Caleb Lomu from Utah, who went in the 1st round. He's just small, and he's not very strong, but he will win with his first step and his speed. So really good value in the 3rd round, in my opinion. Another strange one here. In the 3rd round, number 90th overall, they took Kalen Black, running back, Indiana. The 49ers seem to take a running back in the 3rd or 4th round every single draft, no matter what. It's like, we're just going to take a running back in the middle rounds, and almost all of them have busted. It's like they're desperate to find a backup to Christian McCaffrey. I do like Kalen Black a lot, but I would have liked him a round or maybe 2 later. He was projected to go around the 5th, but even if you take him in the 4th, I would have liked this. Now, he's really quick to the hole. He's really explosive. That's one thing I liked about Kalen Black. The problem with him is he's probably not very powerful. He's not going to do well in goal line situations or 3rd and 4th and 1. He's not one of those guys that's going to try to run you over. But like I said, he's explosive, fits their scheme, probably their number 2 running back. But once again, I would have liked him at least a round later. In the 4th round, like this pick, Grayson Halton, defensive tackle, Oklahoma. I would have liked if they flipped that. They took in Halton in the 3rd round and Black in the 4th round. So Halton, he's your prototypical 3 technique. He is undersized, but he's a very good pass rusher. I thought he might go in the 3rd round, but he was better in 2024 than 2025. I think that's probably the main reason he fell. But what I like about him is his effort. It seems like every play he's giving max effort. So really good value, probably rotational defensive tackle, play on a lot of passing downs, but pretty good value for the 49ers. It's like half these picks were really good and half were major reaches. And if you didn't see the press conference with John Lynch, he was asked about this. Why do you guys always take so many players way higher than consensus? If you know what the consensus board is, they take all the media draft experts, Daniel Jeremiah, Dane Brugler, all those guys, Mel Kiper, and they average it out. And when a team drafts a player way higher in consensus, something like 77, 78% of the time, that player is not worth that draft pick. But 22, 23% of the time they are. So typically, if a team goes way higher than consensus with their pick, it doesn't work out. And I know those guys aren't in front offices, they're in the media, but those media people have gotten smarter. A lot of them are former scouts. They know what they're doing. So typically you want maybe one or two a draft to be way higher than consensus. And the 49ers every year seem to have at least half their draft, maybe more, way higher than consensus. Their picks just 50, 60, 70 spots. They're not as bad as Jacksonville, but still, that is the big criticism of the 49ers, and they haven't really drafted well the last couple of years. I do like some of these picks. This one, not so much. In round 4, Carver Willis, tackle, Washington. He's a smaller college tackle, probably has to move into guard. His run blocking is ahead of his pass blocking. I thought he was more of a 6th or 7th rounder. Took him in the 4th round, but offensive linemen do get overdrafted. Here's another one I liked. Like I said, it's like every other. Ephesians Prysock. They took him in the 4th round, 139th overall. Cornerback, Washington. He's a tall, long corner who, on film, moves better than most tall corners. He's over 6'3". Most 6'3", 6'4" corners bust. Most of them do not work out. For every Reek Woolen, there's 5 or 6 guys that are out of the league in 2 or 3 years. I think Ephesians Prysock has a better than average chance to be at least like a number 3 corner, like a Reek Woolen type who won a Super Bowl for the Seahawks last year. He signed with the Eagles now. In fact, I think he's a better prospect than Takario Davis, who went in the 3rd round to the Bengals, another tall corner, and they were teammates at Washington. Prysock really impressed me at the Senior Bowl, and one strange thing about him, despite his size, I think he's better in zone than in man. Usually those big receivers struggle in zone. They're much better in press man. But the fact that he's already good in zone and he's got the size to potentially be good in man, I think this is a really good pick. He's one of my favorite picks of day 3. And here's another one I thought that was a reach. It's like every other one. Jaden Duggar, linebacker, Louisiana. So I get why they drafted him here because he's super athletic, amazing workout. He's long. He's like 6'4", 240. He looks the part of a starting linebacker. However, he has horrible instincts. So he can't ever start, in my opinion. Probably a core special teamer. But I thought he would be like a 7th rounder, late round flyer, just because I don't think he has the instincts to start in the NFL. But I get why they drafted him. They fell in love with the traits. And then another round 5 pick. Okay, so they didn't pick her the 6th or 7th round. Enrique Cruz Jr., tackle, Kansas. He was a guy that was projected to be 7th rounder, maybe undrafted free agent early in the process, and he was a late mover. He showed up on a bunch of sleeper lists. I heard he could go in the 5th round, and he did. He has very good feet, very quick feet, so he probably can stay at tackle, and that's why he went in the 5th round, didn't fall the 7th round, in my opinion. So I like this pick. Probably a swing tackle, back up at left and right tackle, but obviously we know that's very valuable in the NFL. Just don't watch the Texas Tech game, the Kansas-Texas Tech game. That was so bad. But then again, Utah, they had 2 starting tackles go in the 1st round. Don't watch a Texas Tech game for those guys either. Those pass rushers with Mello Height and David Bailey destroyed all the good offensive tackles throughout the years. So, yeah, just don't watch that game. Ooh, he was terrible. Okay, we have one team left, and that's the world champion Seattle Seahawks. So they do a consensus grade board. I don't know if you've heard about this. This guy's name is Renee Bugner. You can Google him. He puts together 24 draft analyst draft grades, the ones that do draft grades, like Mel Kiper Jr. does, and just a lot of publications. And then he makes a consensus board, and it just kind of gives you a feeling how well the media thinks each team did. And I don't draft grade because it's stupid. You really can't evaluate a draft for 3 or 4 years. Some drafts, Mel Kiper's given A-, and you look back and it's like, they have one player that's still on the team 4 years later. Like, it was a terrible draft. So sometimes Mel's right, though. But it's just good for the fans just to look at and see what the media is feeling about the draft. Now, I disagree with the media's take on the Seahawks. I think they're 21 or 22 on the consensus board. Maybe it's because they picked last, because they won the Super Bowl. But I thought this was a terrific draft, especially for picking so late in every round. Let me know in the comments what you think about this draft. Let's go through it. Jadarian Price went 32nd overall, obviously last pick. Running back, Notre Dame. A couple months ago, I would have hated this pick, but the more you watch him, the more you like him. He has incredible vision. For his size, really good contact balance, so explosive to the hole. Like, he reminds me a little bit of Kenneth Walker in that his vision is incredible. Like, he'll start right and then see the cutback line and just hit it. And he's got big playability. The reason why some people didn't like this pick, I think he was 52nd on consensus board. We had him 55th. And the same reason. He's not very good in pass protection. In fact, he's really bad. And he's not a great receiver. Like, Notre Dame would not play him on passing downs. So there's a reason for that. But if he can improve in that area, this is a great pick. But Kenneth Walker really wasn't great in those areas either. So I don't think the Seahawks really care because he's such a good runner. God, his vision might even be better than Jeremiah Love. That's how good it is. And it's a huge need. So the more I watched him, the more I just liked him. And honestly, I shouldn't have put him at 55. I should move him up to probably 45, maybe even 40 on my big board. In the second round, they went Bud Clark, safety, TCU. We didn't quite have him this high, but I heard he was moving up draft boards like crazy. He's a deep safety prospect only. One of the reasons we didn't have him going till the third round, I think I had him in the 70s or 80s on my board. But he can cover like a corner. So he can play some corner for you as well. He just don't want him playing, in the box safety because he's not very good at tackling at all. And he is undersized, only like 183 pounds, which is small for a safety. But like I said, he can play the deep safety position. He's got tremendous range, 15 career interceptions, so he's got great ball skills, and he can cover. If you have one of those 235, 240-pound lighter tight ends that lines up in the slot, that runs down the seam, he can cover them in man, and that's valuable. And it's a need because they lost Kobe Bryant to the Bears. So they got two really productive players in college with their first two picks that fit needs. And then their third round pick, same thing. They got a very productive player that fills a need because they lost Reek Woolen in free agency. The Eagles, Julian Neal, cornerback, Arkansas. I absolutely love this pick. He had a great season for Arkansas. I had him 60th, I think, 59th maybe on my board. They got him at 99. There were people who didn't even have him in the top 100. It's almost like he got dinged because he was on Arkansas's defense, which was one of the worst in the country. It was awful, but it wasn't his fault. He was one of the best parts about that defense. And when you have his size, his length, and you're productive in the SEC, you should go higher than this. I love this pick. And Seattle has done a great job at developing cornerbacks with really good size, probably as well as anyone in the NFL. He still needs some work. He's not the best man cover corner, much better in zone. He can get a little grabby, but he's got tools to work with. He's got size, he's got athleticism. Absolutely love this pick. I think it's going to be an absolute steal. And in the fifth round is their next pick. They got another need. Guard, Bo Stevens from Iowa. Very good value. We had him in the 90s. They got him 148. He took some center reps in the Senior Bowl, so he might be able to, at worst, back up at all three interior positions. I think he fell because his workout was only okay, and he's had some injury issues in the past. But there's a chance he could start right away because he has to be better than Anthony Bradford at right guard, right? Has to be. That's like the biggest weakness on the team right now. All right, in the sixth round, they had 1 6th rounder and 3 7ths. So they went Emmanuel Henderson, wide receiver, Kansas. He's an undersized receiver who ran well. Likely make it on special teams. Maybe he can be a return man. 7th round, one of my favorite picks of the entire draft. They took Andre Fuller, cornerback, Toledo. Another big corner, over 6'1", very good in man coverage. When I watched Emmanuel Warren, I was watching his film at Toledo, I was like, who is this corner that's just shutting these guys down in man coverage? And it was Andre Fuller. I thought he would go 5th round, 6th at worst. They got him picked 236 in the 7th round. At worst, in my opinion, he'll be a good special teamer, maybe a gunner. And he might be able to play safety. You don't want him necessarily covering the other team's speed receiver. He's not all that fast, but he's big. And like I said, he could possibly move to safety. I think he was a safety early in his career at Toledo. The other round 7, or one of 3 round 7 picks, is Devin Eastern, defensive tackle, Minnesota. Another guy I thought could go in the 5th or 6th round. He's just a good player, like solid, probably backup at defensive tackle, very likely to make the team in my opinion. He's got good size. He'll never probably be a starter, but just really good value here. You need players to fill out your roster. You need a 4th defensive tackle, and that's the role for him in the NFL, and that's valuable. And then their last pick, it was the 3rd to last pick in the entire draft. They took Michael Dansby, cornerback, Arizona. Another Arizona defensive back. How good was their secondary last year? Holy crap. So he's probably never going to start. I didn't think he'd be drafted, but 3rd to last pick, why not? You know, he'll probably play on special teams. Maybe he'll be a gunner. So I really like this draft. I think it's underrated. 22nd on the draft grade consensus board. I probably would have had them in my top 10, especially the value they got picking so late. So let me know in the comments which team in the NFC West had the best draft. Probably Arizona, but then again, they picked really high. I'd probably put Seattle second. Pretty close. If you just evaluate on where they picked, then Seattle got the most value for where they picked, in my opinion. If you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up. Really helps out the channel. Share this with anyone who loves football. Cover all 32 teams on this channel. Once again, me and Mike, we do the Lights Out podcast Tuesday night, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. Link in the description. Check out these videos if you have not, and I'll see you in the next one.